How's it going, everybody? We are here after Week 11, looking back at what happened over the weekend in NFL and fantasy football. I'm going to break down my Best Buys article. We're going to look over my cash game lineup. We're going to see how it did. We're going to see what happened there, the decisions that I made, because after Best Buys came out this week, there was a lot of weather situations. There was an injury situation to a very highly owned, projected to be highly owned, chalky player that I had in my cash lineups, and I know a lot of other people did as well. So we're going to look at that lineup. We're going to look at the decisions that I made and see what happened as the week went on. Thank you guys for watching. If you're new to YouTube, if you're new to the channel, please click that subscribe button. Let's see how many likes we can get on this video. Let's shoot for 400 plus likes on this video on YouTube today. That would be a new high for the channel. I'd really appreciate it. The continued support on YouTube has been tremendous. The continued support on Twitch has been outstanding. Thank you guys very much. Let's get right to it. So let's take a look at Best Buys, which is the article that I write every single week for ESPN. Here it is, Matthew Berry's face gracing the top of my article. Turn the music down just a little bit. There's no need for the music. So here's the article. Every single week I go through some of the plays that I like at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and defense. Started with Tom Brady, was the high dollar guy that I wanted to go for. 30 of 37, 339, and 3 touchdowns. Had himself a fantastic day.
2 months sub. Back to back like I'm on the cover of Lethal Weapon.
Yep. I like the Drake lyrics. Thank you very much. Black Cobe, appreciate you. And Simple Man 2014, thank you very much for the tier 1 sub. Appreciate both of you guys. So Tom Brady, 30 of 37, 339 with 3 touchdowns, 28.6 DraftKings points. If you paid up at quarterback in GPPs, he was the way to go. If you paid up in cash, he did not do poorly at all, especially if you looked at him versus the 2 win game quarterbacks who I had in here and was talking about on the Anti-Tinkercast on Sunday morning that I backed off of these guys massively because of the 20-plus mile-per-hour winds. Alex Smith was the quarterback that I had in cash games leading up to the weekend until the weather just looked completely restrictive. 27 of 40, 230 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions coming off of a bye week. 9.9 DraftKings points, completely disappointing, but luckily we were able to get that information beforehand, and we pivoted off of him. Blake Bortles, same situation. Sloppy, wet, snowy, cold, 20-plus miles per hour wind led itself to Blake Bortles having 17 of 30 passes completed, 154 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 9.6 points. This would have been a situation we would have wanted to attack if not for the weather. We came off of this one as well. It forced us to pivot down to a couple of these players. Drew Brees got in as a mid-range quarterback for me, had 25.6 DraftKings points, 19.9 for Fitzpatrick, 19-plus points for Blaine Gabbert with his 3 touchdowns against the Houston Texans' very attackable defense that we've been going after every single week. So the pivots were there for us to get to, and the weather gave us enough leeway, enough lead time. Mark Ingram did exceptionally well, smashed, especially when in comparison to Kareem Hunt, who was very disappointing at a very high ownership level. I think we got a little bit lucky here, even though he did smash. 11 carries only, 3 catches on 4 targets. So 14 touches only for Mark Ingram as game flow got a little bit away from him there because the Saints were chasing in this game. The Redskins got up like 2 scores in the second half, and it was all Kamara from there. It was all Ingram leading up to that. If they had maintained the lead, Ingram was going to completely smash. He still did great, but only on 14 touches. 11 carries, 134 yards, and a touchdown, a long one for him. 3 catches on 4 targets for 21 yards, up from the 1 target he got total the past 2 weeks, 27.5 DraftKings points. I absolutely loved that play. Melvin Gordon kind of disappointed for us, especially considering the way that this game went. It got a little bit too out of hand and just kept him away from some second half usage. 20 carries, great. 80 yards, 4 yards a carry is good for Melvin Gordon. 1 touchdown, 0 catches on 2 targets, only 14 DraftKings points. I would have hoped for a little bit more, especially considering the opponent, what went on. Eckler got a late second half touchdown as they were just kind of starting to rest the starters. They just kind of mashed the Bills as was expected based on the quarterback situation there. Burkhead had an early fumble and didn't really get back into the game until later, leaving Lewis as the guy who was the New England running back who did the best. Burkhead at 3.6K still scored 7.7 DraftKings points, 5 carries, 16 yards, 4 catches on 6 targets for 21 total yards, no touchdowns, and he had that fumble. You fumble in front of Bill Belichick, he's going to bench you, but at 3.6K, it didn't hurt you all that much. Because he didn't miss value by a ton, right? He needed like 11 points out of him. He got 7.7, so you missed value by like 4 points. And Bookie, thank you very much for the Twitch Prime sub. Thank you for getting in here. Show him some love in the chat. The other side of that is that he was like 80% owned in cash games. So if you played against somebody in head-to-head that didn't have Burkhead, maybe you lost that head-to-head game or you lost that spot. But Burkhead allowed us to pay up for the 2 running backs, allowed us to get all the mid-range wide receivers we wanted. So I'm not going to say we got unlucky here. We got Belichicked here. He fumbled. It's Burkhead's fault. You don't fumble on the Patriots and keep playing. So that's the way it went. Got unlucky with Chris Thompson as he broke his leg. All the best to him in his rehab. 10.3 points. Kareem Hunt, only 10.7 points. Has not really gotten a lot of opportunities inside the 10-yard line as the Chiefs offense the last 5 weeks has really sputtered. They haven't had a ton of opportunities the last 5 weeks. They had a ton before, and he was scoring from distance before, something that we know is going to regress back to the mean. Kenyon Drake was terrible with only 2.4 points this week. Sterling Shepard got a migraine headache and all of a sudden missed the game. We knew this early, so it wasn't something we had to pivot to on Sunday morning. We had this information on Friday night where he missed practice, and then Saturday it became clear that he wasn't going to play, or at least that he was – anybody that on Saturday all of a sudden goes from not on the injury report to like questionable to doubtful. This was going to be a smash play for us. Plus the wind and losing him forced us to switch to somebody else. It was the only play in my cash game lineup that was not in Best Buys. Was going to be Shepard. We pivoted to somebody else. We'll get to that in a minute. Michael Crabtree ended the day with 13.1 points, 6 catches, 11 targets, 51 yards, did not score the touchdown. That went to Cooper. Cooper kind of had about the same points as him. I think he outscored him by like 0.5 points. Ellington, 6 catches on 7 targets for 63 yards. 12.8 fantasy points for absolutely min salary. I will take that all day. That's exactly what we're looking for out of a minimum salary wide receiver. Got the volume that we wanted, got the catches that we wanted. They went for the yardage that we wanted. If he scored a touchdown, it would have been an absolute smash. As it was, more than paid off his salary while allowing you to pay up for other guys. Jarvis Landry, Jamison Crowder did well themselves. Ending the day with 14.6 points was Crowder and 20.5 points for Landry, just missing the 100-yard bonus, 6 catches, 11 targets, 95 yards, and a touchdown for Landry. Travis Kelce was the only play in that game that I stayed on in cash because my reasoning was, even with the win, they were going to have to get the ball to Kelce. They were going to get it to him around the he doesn't have a really deep A-dot, right? He's not getting targeted way down the field. So they could run some little quick screens, some bubble screens, some jailbreaks, get him the ball within 5 or 10 yards of the line of scrimmage where the wind isn't really going to affect it all that much. That was my analysis going in. That actually worked out. 8 catches, 14 targets, 109 yards, no touchdowns, 20.9 fantasy points for Travis Kelce. Absolute smash. Benjamin Watson did not get there for us. Only 1 catch on 1 target for 33 yards. A little disappointing there. Jared Cook also disappointing at 5.6. The Raiders just got kind of curb stomped in that game. Could not keep up in the altitude in Mexico City. 2 catches, 5 targets for 36. And the flow chart just kind of continues with Mercedes Lewis. 2 catches, 2 targets, 26 yards, and a touchdown. We're going to continue to stream tight ends against Cleveland. We're going to continue to stream tight ends against the Giants. That's just what we're going to do the rest of the season. We're also going to play Jacksonville whenever the salary makes it viable for us to do, especially against a bad opponent like Cleveland. They ended the day with 25 points as advertised. 2 interceptions, 3 fumbles, 5 sacks, scored a defensive touchdown. They just crushed it. The other defense that I liked this week, this one did not do well of the 4 that I named. Arizona Cardinals, 3.2K. I was going up against Savage. Savage actually had a very good day against them, completing like 60% of his passes, something he had been under 50% on completions before. They had 1 interception, 1 fumble, 1 sack, 4 points. They give up way too many points on the field. Bad play by me here. The Chargers, though, going up against Mr. Peterman, 5 interceptions, 1 fumble, 1 sack, 2 defensive touchdowns, 25 points. The Bengals, 1 interception, 1 fumble, 3 sacks, 10 points. Should have had 16 if Drake Kirkpatrick does not fumble on the 3-yard line on a 100-yard interception return with no contact. So that's on him. So we got a little bit unlucky there that they did not score a touchdown. Let's look at the cash game lineup. Here's the $1,000 50-50. They bumped it up to like 50 teams this week. It overlaid. It only had 48 entrants. It paid 25. We finished all the way on top of this one. As you can see, I was a little bit off the chalk this week at certain spots. Obviously, Crowder at 77%, Rex Burkhead at 70%, Bruce Ellington at 50%, Jaguars D at 40%. But then elsewhere, I think Kelsey would have been about 40% as well if the wind wasn't a problem. A lot of people came off of him. Melvin Gordon, 14.6%. Ryan Fitzpatrick, 4.2%. Mark Ingram, I said all week that I liked him more than Hunt, even though I knew that Hunt was going to be the chalk. Ingram, we did kind of get lucky there with his massive efficiency on very few carries. Brandon Cooks was my pivot from Sterling Shepard and was a lot of other people's pivot as well at 50% owned.
Auntie Tinker saved me a few hundo. Greetings from England plus good luck.
Glad that you did well, TFHL. Anti-Tinkercast saved a few people, I assume, based on what we talked about. So basically, chalk at certain spots. I had Melvin Gordon here at a very similar price when I had 200 left. I could have gone up to LaShawn McCoy, but I like Melvin Gordon more. I guess that was a mistake. LaShawn McCoy scored 2 touchdowns, scored like 28 fantasy points. Would have been even better with him. Would have taken down a Q with that, but didn't quite get there. Here is the King of the Beach that we were talking about before. 180 people made the King of the Beach tournament. 50 of them get entered into the final. You had to finish in the top 50. This is basically just its own queue like a satellite. So first or 50th did not matter. I had 2 entries in this. I made them vastly different, giving myself 2 shots at getting into the top 50. First one, this was the cash game lineup, ended up right near the top. Look at how the percentages here changed. People viewed this way too much as a GPP, in my opinion, trying to fade chalk and get here and get there, with Burkhead only at 35% owned. And, you know, Crowder was somewhat similar. He was 70% owned. Cooks was 40 versus 50. I think people just overthought this. Maybe it was because they had multiple lineups like me and just said, okay, I'm going to get one lineup's going to be a cash and enter it like a 3-max. One's going to be a leagues lineup. One's going to be a tournament. And as always, most importantly, I did happen to take down the 4-man this week, just kind of lapping the field, I guess, because my contrarian plays kind of went off. Ingram, I was the only one with Cooks. 2 people had Fitzpatrick, only one with Gordon, only one with Kelsey. Everything else, me and Pete and Adam tend to think a lot alike, even though we don't really talk about our lineups before lock. We do the podcast. We do have a very similar process between us. We look for the same things at a lot of different positions, even though we have our own personal touches to lineups. There it kind of is. That's the weekend recap. I think we did pretty well. Look at my head-to-heads. I posted 122 head-to-heads on DraftKings. I won 121. So congratulations if you were the one person who beat me in head-to-heads. I posted them from $5 all the way up to $500 at different, a bunch of different games at different price points to get my cash game allocation that I wanted. Absolutely smashed it this week. Very happy with the results. Didn't happen to win a GPP, but sounds like some of the people in chat had a pretty good week as well. Hopefully you guys did too. If you're still watching this on YouTube, thank you very much for making it to the end of the video. Hit that like button before you leave. And if you are not a subscriber, please click that subscribe button. Appreciate all the support recently. Best of luck in week 12.